Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. We don't do enough sports business and media around here with the Ravens with 18 months left on their lease and collective bargaining and how it affects the National Football League and 17 games and all of that good stuff. This guy is one of my favorites because he is the last Oriole fan left on the ship in Northern Virginia. He is the longtime media reporter at the Sports Business Journal. He's my friend, one of the real industry insiders when it comes to business and money and media. We welcome John Ourand back on. He is Ourand, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right because it took me 10 years to figure out how to do it. Ourand, or it's a difficult one, but it's Ourand_SBJ. Did I get it right, John?
You know, it's only 6 letters. Nobody gets it right, but you got it as close as anybody. It's Ourand. Yeah,
Ourand. Okay, that's good. Everybody, what do you think people do to my name, dude? You know, I mean, it's terrible.
Aparicio?
Oh, yeah, man. But if you're a baseball guy, and you are...
If you're a baseball guy and you grew up in this area, you know Aparicio. Come on.
You do. And, you know, we're back on baseball season, man, and I have not had you on. I looked at my phone. You have not been on the show in a couple, 2-3 years, right? And you and I ran at each other at the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago, and I'm glad we can get some oxygen in the room. Where are you with your Oriole thing? Give your background because you're fascinating to me in the way you love the Orioles and have always loved the Orioles, but now you live in the town of the world champions. And I know this because I went to D.C. to see Cheap Trick last week.
The D.C., the District of Champions, which I think makes everybody in Baltimore crazy, right?
Sure.
So I grew up in D.C. I'm 50 years old. I grew up without a team, and I love baseball. And so I had a team. It was right up, just up 95. It was an easy drive, go to Memorial Stadium, and you could buy bleacher tickets and get down close to the field. It was just a great experience.
Literally the same feelings I have about the 1985-86 Washington Capitals, right? I would go down, I'd see Mike Gartner. They were a good team. They were my hockey team, even though I lived on Kane Street in East Baltimore, right?
In fact, one of my favorite seasons, Nestor, was 1988, when you could just walk up to the stadium and buy a ticket and sit next to the field. And that was of course, a 0-21 season, you know, and it was
I was sitting 3 rows behind you many of those nights. Yes, I remember many nights of Dave Schmidt and Brian Holton and, all of that stuff. Yes.
Oh, man, those were the worst. Was that a Jim Traber year?
Trabes was a little earlier than that. Trabes is more like 85, 86 as I remembered. I'll look all that up, but it all runs together. Yes, I mean, you are a why notter. You're the guy that was drinking the wine and eating the cheese and reading the Washington Post when the team moved into Camden Yards. You were there when Larry King was banging around and George Will and all the people were filling Camden Yards and go Raffy and go Robbie and go Cal and go Moose. And, dude, it's 25 years ago now, right? Like, we've really moved way, way, way beyond what it was and what it is, right? For all of us.
Buck brought it back for a couple of years there. I mean, I went to every single playoff game at Camden Yards. It was only a handful, but boy, that was fun.
I went to the ones at Yankee Stadium and Royal Stadium, and that was fun too. You know what I mean? Yeah, October baseball.
And I'll tell you what, that one Delman Young hit at what I forgot what year that
Tigers,
was.
And that was the ALCS year. Yes, that was the big one.
That was the most exciting single play I think I've seen live at an Orioles game. You know, I mean,
it was a moment.
And I went back to the 80s. I went to the games in the 70s. That was like, I've never felt a park so electric. It was almost like people didn't believe that something good was happening to the team, I think.
It was almost like the DeCinces home run in 79, which I did attend, by the way, John. So, look, I
was watching that one on TV, Nestor. My mom wouldn't let me go up for that.
All right, so your fandom, aside from all of this, where's baseball right now, dude? Let's go bigger picture here on what this Astros things means for everyone, and we're still waiting on the Red Sox for all that. I mean, it's just been an ugly episode for baseball all the way around. You know, I saw the Verducci piece the other day with the 51 curveballs and sliders thrown by the best pitcher in the sport, none of which were swung and offered at in a World Series. I mean, it's really a disgrace, way above and beyond anything Pete Rose did or didn't do on a pool card, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think in the short term, it's actually going to be great for baseball. I'm already planning to hit Camden Yards for that first Astros series. I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, we all of a sudden, baseball has a villain that's not the Red Sox or the Yankees. I mean, those are boring villains now. They're always villains. I mean, this is a new villain that's not inspiring hatred, not just of fan bases, but of all the other players too. I mean, what we're going to see with the Astros this season is going to be really, really fun to watch if you're a fan sort of into chaos, right?
Well, you do this for a living, evaluating leaders in business and what it all means. Leadership at the top with Rob Manfred. I mean, you find out about leaders in crisis, right? I mean, everybody's a hell of a leader when the water's blue and the sun's out and the money's coming in. Baseball's about to go through some real changes here. On the field, off the field, this analytics thing, bringing back the fossils of Dusty Baker and Ron Renicky to run franchises that were being run by analytics. The Orioles have now, brought back a 70-year-old broadcaster who knows nothing about analytics and hasn't really liked baseball in a long time to call the games. I don't know how they're going to educate a fan base. I mean, we have a chasm between me and Luke. Luke speaks analytics. I don't not speak analytics. I haven't had any reason to. My team's going to lose 100 games this year with or without your analytics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that baseball's sort of at the crossroads. I would say that not really at the crossroads. That's a stupid phrase, but I think that Rob Manfred misunderstood how. I think he knew that there was going to be sort of fan blowback on all this. I think that he was really taken aback by the amount of player blowback on all this. I mean, there is...
That he knows nothing about an athlete then, right? Like, then he really is an egghead banker in a suit, a lawyer. Like, he has never played a sport and has never been amongst these men. If he's going to think the videos of trash bag banging and pulling on shirts when a guy's clearly wearing a wire... right? I mean, that the back end of that wouldn't be, I want to kill you with a bat, but I'll throw a 99-mile-an-hour heater at your chin instead. Like, that's the way these guys have settled their differences for years. And then they run around and sort of tap dance and bring, the gates open and they all run on the field and they all dance and sometimes somebody gets scuffed up a little bit, but that's the way they've been doing this forever. Why doesn't Rob Manfred understand that?
Yeah, I think that he gets part of that, and he understands sort of like the frontier justice. I think the idea, and several star players have come out and in really personal terms bashed Rob Manfred. I mean, you don't see that a lot in other leagues. Roger Goodell went through a period where he was among the most hated men in football. But you never really heard players come out and speak ill of him. He was sort of, the guy that was there. Like, it was more of a fan base thing. And if the players spoke ill of him, it was sort of more on background than sort of out there. And just to see the star players do that with Manfred is, it's pretty shocking. It was something he wasn't expecting.
John Ourand joining us here. He is the media reporter at Sports Business Journal. You can follow him out on Twitter at OURAND_SBJ. For you with baseball in the global sense, you think this gives a shot in the arm to some degree because it is Nancy Kerrigan and whatever her name was, right? Like, right? I mean, there are good guys and bad guys here. It's created noise about integrity. And you think that people will come and rubberneck to this in general, maybe not in Baltimore, but in general?
Oh, even in Baltimore, I think. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to happen, and I think so. The opportunity here for baseball is as you get people to come in to sort of watch. When is Altuve going to get hit, and how is he going to respond to getting hit, and do I have a chance to just scream at him and hold up a sign or something along those lines,
Well, you couldn't do that at spring training last week. We found that out, right? Signs are banned.
Yeah, well, exactly. But you could tell from the fact that the signs are banned, you're going to see more and more and more and more of them start to pop up. I mean, it's going to be like whack-a-mole. In that situation there, Nestor, is baseball going to be able to take these people that want to see the car crash and are rubbernecking and turn them into sort of, not turn them into fans, but bring them back as fans and bring them back to this game that a lot of them really liked and maybe have passed on. Like, we were talking earlier about, look, kids playing lacrosse or soccer and all these other sports and baseball. Baseball is not unhealthy. It's just not completely healthy right now.
Well, I'm a 51-year-old Latino/white guy that lives 2 blocks away from a major league team and purposely put my home 2 blocks away from a major league team so I could purposely go to games, of which I haven't really gone to in 14 years because the team basically told me and my media organization and my audience, we don't need you. And they have said that over and over and over again. TJ Brightman, when he hears this, he'll call me and say, we still don't need you, even though the stadium's empty. I mean, there's a level of arrogance that goes on here locally. And, I talk about it with my dear friend Dennis Kolatzis when he does the show every Thursday. We are the 50-year-old white guys who don't go anymore, who've always loved baseball. My last name's Aparicio. You would think if you're going to start recruiting people, you'd like to get me back. I still got hopefully another 5-6 years of life left in my 51-year-old body to support the baseball team, right? So, but what they're trying to do to get kids or what they're trying to do to make the game more interesting in the era of shifts where the game has visibly changed very, very rapidly, that if you haven't been to a game in a couple of years and you sit in the upper deck and watch the shifts, you would see why Chris Davis's career's over, right? Not to mention stealing signs and banging on trash cans as another byproduct of all of this video age and iPhone and iWatches and all that stuff. But when you get in your car and you come up here to watch a baseball game, I mean, you've already said the only weekend you're coming is the weekend of June 4th and 5th because that's the weekend the Astros are coming. I mean, what's going to get you in the car again in July and August or September to come watch a team that, quite frankly, dude, isn't trying, right? I mean, there's no pretense about them trying to win this year. There really isn't.
No, but I think that I think the Orioles have done a good job of selling the fan base. We're going to go through 2, maybe 3 years of just basically tanking. Although I guess that's not a word to use in order to build up draft picks.
It's the word I would use, by the way. So thank you for using that. That's good.
Build up draft picks, get younger players, and it's sort of the 76ers said it. Trust the process. They're going through it. It's painful now, and it is painful when you see the Orioles playing in that empty park, and there's a promise of better days ahead. The hard part for me last year, as a fan, I didn't watch it. I don't think I watched more than like 5 games start to finish because those are players when they finally get good that I'm just sort of not invested in, and they're not going to be there when they get good,
I put a status up last week that said, go ahead and name the Orioles you can name. I'll give you Trey Mancini, go. And in my world, after 30 years of radio with the last name Aparicio, even in my audience, people were, I really don't know and I don't care, and wake me up when they're trying to win. And look, I go to bed every night with a Red Sox fan, right? My wife's from Manchester, New Hampshire. And what the Red Sox did last week and what their manager has done and where their organization is, that's the next disgrace to come online, right? That they've just given up to the Yankees and the Rays this year, right?
Yeah, that's the next shoe to drop. One other thing just about baseball and sort of I think the problem, the problem that Rob Manfred is in. He is trying to make some changes to the game, but like he did a couple of like really basic things. Like, okay, there's a new rule now that relievers have to pitch to 3 batters. The Jesse Orosco rule, I called that. And personally, I love it. I always hated that. I hate the sort of over managing of, okay, let's bring on this pitcher because you just have to be able to pitch, and that. The players hate that, and the Players Association hates that. It's so hard to get basic rules in order to counteract these analytic, kind of home run or bust scenarios. And so my hope is, with my hometown Nationals winning the World Series, they weren't the home run or bust team, and they they didn't depend on analytics, and they still had sort of live scouts. They were very much the anti-Astros, and so can that be sort of the fad to take back over baseball? Because I hate to say it, but the Nationals are one of the most, or have been one of the most fun teams to watch through a 162 game season out there. They're just they play the way the Orioles of the early 80s did, or the 70s.
Well, they're trying, and they're well run, and they have a plan. And look, for the Orioles, for their plan to now be led by the dudes that ran the Astros. I mean, you chuckle at that and you say, well, I mean, of course they were not part of the cheating, because how could the assistant general manager who was next to the general manager who's cheating have anything to do with it? I mean, first off, I'll say this. I don't believe a word that Mike Elias and Sig Mejdal that they're shocked that this went on. I call BS on that, and I call BS all day and for the rest of my life on that. So they can be propped up, and they had nothing to do with it, and their life march. That's fine. That's fine. Ted Kennedy's life went on too, right? So, that's fine. But that being said, now you're going to pitch them as the geniuses who helped build the Astros. That's really – those guys would have a hard time getting a job tomorrow morning, wouldn't they?
I don't know.
In this environment right now, with the scorched earth of the Astros, they would be associated with it if they weren't being protected by the Angelos family and having a job, because they were. Everybody else is getting booed. Everybody else is a part of it, and if you gave them the job and made them the highest paid guys based on merit, that they were geniuses and they have pelts on the wall, those pelts are very, very suspicious at this point. So I think all of it's a little weird for the Orioles, for sure.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about them, they weren't ever named in anything that came out of baseball, and so
I call it guilt by Astros, is what I call it, guilt by association.
Killed by asterisks. I can go with that, but I don't know one way or another. All I know is that
it's not an accusation; it's a belief. It's different, like I said, I think they're going to skate and everyone will run away, and they had nothing to do with it. Okay, great. Bring me your resume. Oh, what championship did you win? Oh, the one that everybody cheated on, and the one that the best pitcher in baseball threw 51 pitches and no one off at a curveball. Maybe you guys aren't the geniuses we think you are. That's how I would handle it.
This is why I think buy your tickets early. I think that series against the Astros, I think it's good. Everywhere they go for at least the first half of the season, it's just going to be must watch baseball.
John, for a business standpoint, you being in D.C. and the Nationals and the Orioles and understanding the Masson, I mean, you're one of the 3 or 4 dudes who actually understands the Masson thing. So I'll give you a little oxygen on that, because it appears as though the lads are going to have to stroke a couple $100 million check to someone at some point upon sale. The Nashville Orioles, I thought it very strange that people thought they were going to Las Vegas based on a crazy lawyer in East Baltimore scheming that up on my competitor one afternoon. The Nashville thing seems more realistic to me, but there is 162 games left on their lease. That's a fact. Now, what happens to the Orioles in the aftermath of Peter's death, Mama owning the team, the boys running the team from Nashville? All I know is the one thing that no one really accounted for were the world champion Washington Nationals, having a sales force in Bowie and Columbia and Annapolis, and really bleeding into the waters up here for anybody that's not a dyed-in-the-wool Oriole fan. The Nationals aren't just coming, they're here, and that makes me shudder more than anything about the future of the Baltimore Orioles, for whomever the owner would be.
Well, it's hard. I can tell you, I still own a lot of black and orange. I don't own any curly W, or too many curly W's. I guess I got some free at the stadium. But my kids all are Nats fans, every single one of them, and they're more likely to go to a Nats park. Obviously, it's closer than up to Camden Yards. Philly is, an hour away, a little more than an hour away. It's tough. It's getting squeezed there. But Baltimore baseball has a long history at MLB. What is it? 1954. I always forget
correct.
The year.
Yeah, St. Louis Browns, 54. Correct.
And all those years through the 60s and 70s and early 80s. Back again with Cal in the 90s. There's just a long history. look at all of the stadiums now that have been built based on Camden Yards. Like, they want to fill Camden Yards again. The idea that they would walk away from Camden Yards, so look, I've heard all those rumors. Those rumors are out there, including with Portland, Oregon, which you didn't mention.
Oh, I talk to Maury Brown every couple of months. Believe me. Yep.
Those rumors are out there. There are people that there are sort of sales groups or groups that have gotten together to try to come up with a pitch. I don't know. There haven't been like formal talks to sell the team. And I would still put it publicly and privately as a very long shot that the Orioles would move.
Well, the feeling is that the owners wouldn't let them, and when people say that to me, I'm like, you haven't met a sports owner with a lawyer. Like, to think that they couldn't be moved is outrageous. To think that they would say, look, we can't even protect the stadium. The city's so screwed up. The reputation's too screwed up for us to exist in downtown Baltimore. We need the Atlanta deal. You know what I mean? We need the Cobb County deal. We need the deal the Cubs have where we get all the parking garages and we get to own the whole city. I am wondering what the Angelos lads are scheming up, because something's happening, right? I mean, there's a lease that's going to expire. At some point, somebody's going to have to get in a room and decide something. And until such point comes when that happens, I consider them very much up for grabs. You know why? Because I watched the Colts walk out of here. You know why? Because I watched the Rams walk out of St. Louis. You know why? Because I watched Al Davis do whatever the hell he wanted to do. And I watched Bob Irsay do whatever the hell he wanted to do. I don't think anyone that thinks that the other Major League Baseball owners would just say, you're not moving the team, they would be giving up their own right to move a team in the future. I don't believe that would be the impediment. I think the impediment might be the Seattle Mariners saying, Portland is my territory, or St. Louis or Atlanta or Cincinnati saying, Nashville's my territory. I'll hear all of that, but I won't hear that John Angelos can't go find himself a lawyer that says, F you, we're leaving, and there's nothing you can do about it. I think in the modern era, that's kind of the way it works.
The owners have proven time and time again that they will do whatever lines their pockets with more money. You're absolutely right about that. I just don't get any sense from Major League Baseball offices. I think MLB, the actual MLB, not the owners, but on Park Avenue. Actually, they moved from Park Avenue, but they will do whatever it takes to try to keep the Orioles in Baltimore.
John Ourand here. Go ahead. Keep going.
Those rumors are out there. I don't find them to be credible yet.
Fair enough, but what I do find to be credible is there's a lease up in 18 months, and I haven't heard a word from anybody, and the boys owe everybody in Major League Baseball a couple of $100 million, and no one's going to the games, and the guys they have running the team now are a little dubious because of the Houston Association, and they're going to lose 100 games this year, and that's where the business is, right? That's the reality. Oh, and their games still don't stream, and they still run their commercials at twice the volume, and and everybody's cord cutting. All of that's going on, and I don't see anybody in front of the organization, right? Like, who is stepping up to lead the organization and saying, we're going to do business better. We're going to serve Baltimore fans better. That's the part that's really missing here, John. I had to accost the owner at a visitors event to ask him if the team was staying in town because everyone else is afraid to ask him. That's where we are.
I will say this. They knew they were going through this pain. The two straight seasons of 100 losses. This season's not going to look much better. I don't think they're going to lose 100, but they're not going to have a winning record. They knew they were going to go through this pain. The hope is that there is a payoff at the end.
Hey, man, last thing for you. The National Football League and collective bargaining and all of the stuff that's been going on in the news here. If you follow the Sharpies on all this, it's like the owners are running to make a deal. Maybe the union should be a little leery. I find it fascinating that you and I would be on the phone in February talking about labor in the NFL where it feels like they're going to have an agreement. Like, I've been doing this a long time. It's very, very rare that you find players and owners getting together to make off-season billion-dollar deals in some level of peace. This 17th game's gone better than maybe some thought it was going to go, right?
Yeah, we'll see. All of the players still have to vote on it, and it isn't a slam dunk. But so far, all of my sources think the 17th game is definitely going to happen. there's just, I think that neither side wants to mess with these, like you said, billions of dollars. I mean, there's so much money at play here, and everybody stands to make a ton of money off this. And so they're trying to exact concessions wherever they can. But I think there's also sort of an idea of, like, you know, the rising tide, and anybody that messes with what's making a billion
Billions.
billions, yeah.
Carl Sagan, billions.
Tens of billions, if you can get your head around that. Anybody that's messing with that is, you know, they don't want to. They don't want to. They don't want to mess with it. So it's that's going. The next one coming down the pike is going to be the media deals, which is going to be ridiculous when you see how much these networks pay for the NFL. I mean, it's going to be up 50%, 60% increase over what they're paying right now, and it's a good time to be associated with the Shield right now.
John, have you ever been to a game over in Europe? Have you flown over to experience that London thing yet?
I did. I saw the London Dragons play in 1997 for the old NFL Europe.
Nice. They probably play with Barcelona or the Rhine Fire or whatever. So, and I remember all that, and a lot of a couple of my friends, Spencer Falau, Kyle Richardson, guys that played for the Ravens, played on those teams. Brian Baldinger called those games over there 20-some years ago. We played over there 2.5 years ago. I mean, famously, it was the knee weekend. Famously, the Ravens got waxed by the Jacksonville knee London Monarch Jaguars or whatever they're going to be. I was blown away by it. You know, the man who saved my wife's life, and a little plug, he's getting married in 4 weeks over in Germany. My wife and I are flying over to Germany. The minute we found him 5 years ago, he identified as an NFL fan. His brother had a Tom Brady jersey in his closet, right, and a Kobe Bryant jersey in his closet. I mean, they follow American sports. They're 20-something German kids. Riding the tube to Wembley now 2.5 years ago, right? We saw fans from all over Europe and every Chiefs, Packers, Seahawks jersey you can imagine, right? The 17th game, man, that's a silver bullet in this thing, right? And what the league hopes to do with that over 34, 51, 68 games 4 years in, where they're going to be playing NFL games in Sydney, Australia, and in Rio de Janeiro, right?
That's a likelihood. By the way, thank you for that correction. It was the London Monarchs. I think I called them the London. I forget what I called them, but yeah, I think that's what they want to do. But there is some peril to that. I mean, if you look at what's going on in Mexico City, that field is even this year when it was better and playable, it was still an awful field to play football on, and yet they're risking injuries, and the NFL doesn't have as much control over some of those things. So I think they do like to play that way. But boy, going from Baltimore to London is the same, effectively the same as going from Baltimore to LA. Going from Baltimore to Sydney, I mean, that's you almost need 2 weeks of a bye week if you're going to do that.
Oh, they'll just open the season over there on August 27th. Don't worry. Come on now.
Or something like that, exactly.
That's what baseball does, right? I mean, baseball plays these games in the middle of the night in Korea and Japan, and you wake up and say, oh, hell, the A's opened the season against the Mariners. Look at that. Wasn't that cute? At the Tokyo Dome, right?
But I don't think this, adding the 17th game, it does not mean that they're going to have 17 international games. I mean, so it just means that, again, lining the owners' pockets, it just means that the owners are going to get, at least one more home game every other season that they can make a lot more money off of. So
I think Lincoln, Nebraska will get a game before it's, what I mean? Those kinds of places would be places that I think they would love to take an otherwise sleepy Jaguars game or whatever, right? Like whatever game's not selling out that year, wherever the Chargers want to go play. Hey, by the way, I did look all this up, and it's crazy how I can remember some of the names. The Barcelona Dragons, the Amsterdam Admirals, the Cologne Centurions, the Frankfurt Galaxy. I would have gotten that one, but
Wait, there was there a team in Scotland, right?
The Hamburg Sea Devils. I'm looking this all up. I'm trying to come up with all of it. let's see, the Birmingham Fire. That's when they revived it. I'm in the wrong thing here. Sacramento with teams and crazy stuff. I don't know, man. There have been so many wannabe. Are they still playing the XFL? Does that still exist 3 weeks in?
The XFL is doing okay. They're getting better ratings than college basketball right now. More viewers are watching the XFL, so it's all a matter of expectations. They're not the NFL, but they're also not, the pro bowling circuit either.
Maryland, we're all behind you. All right, John, we'll see you during March Madness. It was great seeing you in Miami. I hope they don't move our baseball team anytime soon. And much like Nicholson in the movie, you want me on the wall, you need me on the wall. So I'll be here on the warehouse wall, peering out and making sure that the Emperor still has no clothes, okay?
Hey, always happy to come on, Nestor.
John, love you. Appreciate you. John Ourand joining us, Sports Business Journal. You can find him out on Twitter at OURAND_SBJ. You can pronounce his name wrong. Just read his stuff. John Ourand. I'll make sure I'm pronouncing it right. Media reporter at Sports Business Journal and Oriole fan for life. He also likes the Wizards and the Terps and the Caps. And didn't talk to him about the Redskins-Ravens thing. Probably just would have gotten his dander all up. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram. We're doing Baltimore positive stuff. Ted Venetoulis this week. Sheila Dixon next week at Fadley's. We'll be at State Fair this week, which means chicken and waffles for me. That makes me happy. Frank Kelly's going to be coming out telling us about Fellowship of Christian Athletes and the big Ed Reed night for them on March 9th. And we've got all sorts of plans for Baltimore positive. Hold April the 14th in the afternoon. We got big doings. I'll tell you more about it when Don Moeller and I get together later on in the week. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.